Inequality is common. Job opportunities are foreign. Nepotism on the side. How am I to provide when the cost of life is inhuman?
Single parenting can be blamed, generational curses misnamed. The result? A lack of guidance, which is shoved, and education to be untrained.
Although it is not easily solved, do not let it go undissolved. The core, education, qualifications, preferential treatment resolved.
Government, a policy to fund the ambitions of the youth too. To end biases in the workplace, transpiring. Counseling available, a review.
This is how we treat impoverishment, the heat, which is poverty.
To start this off, I'm going to ask you, what is your inspiration for creating this poem?
I tried to convey the experience of somebody that would actually go through that those difficulties. So I used to work at a bank as a live rep, and some people would tune in or come to the conversation just to tell their experiences and just to vent. And some of them were saying how they didn't have enough money to pay for their food. Some of them were going to sleep out on that day. So I kind of like tried to portray their feelings or tell the story in from their perspective, and that's how I was able to come up with a bit of creativity for it. I wanted to do limericks so that I could tell the story in as little words but as much feeling as possible, and that's how I was able to come up with it.
So, can you tell us any experiences that you have had being in poverty, or if you've had a friend who was in poverty?
Sure. I'm not sure if it so much counts as that, but uh, I moved out of my parents' home. I went to the Dominican Republic to live alone for a while. And in that experience, at first I was good because I had my savings, but afterwards, there were times when I didn't have enough money to pay for everything. So there were times when I had to choose between eating sufficiently um, or paying all of my bills, because at some point there was inflation, so the prices doubled and so on. Mentally, it caused me a lot of anxiety because I was living check to check. I was constantly calculating whether the hours that I put in and the income that I would get afterwards was going to be enough to pay everything, to pay for everything. This caused me a lot of anxiety. I was constantly worried about that. It kind of made my depression a bit worse um, because I was burned out from putting in so much work. I was constantly tired and I didn't want to do anything. I didn't have enough energy to do exercise, to eat sometimes, to get up and clean and do things like that. So I was constantly burned out and tired. Um, I had some problems with some friendships because they weren't seeing me that often, they weren't hearing from me that often. And also, having to return to my parents' home and sometimes not being able to pay for everything really had a big impact on my self-esteem, because I felt kind of like a failure as I couldn't do something that I really was interested in doing, which was like living on my own. So that feeling of not being able to do that um, did make me feel like a failure sometimes.